Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. I'm so glad you're here. I'm doing some trash to treasures and I'm starting off with this angel food or bundt cake pan with a really cool removable interior. I've never seen that before, but it's really old. I had it at my cottage. I think it was a garage sale find years ago. I don't make angel food cake, so I thought I would repurpose this into something beautiful for home decor. But I do need a bottom for it because I'm going to be using the bottom as the pedestal. So I'm just taking a piece of this MDF board that I picked up at my Dollarama store. I like to remove things in sections so I have decent pieces to use again. And now I'm just going to score off the corners and that will make it much easier to get my circle shape. I'm going to give one side of it a coat of home decor chalk paint in the color Parisian gray, and this is the color that closely matches the tin color of the pan. I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and my weld bond glue, which is good for metal, ceramic, wood, glass, tile, anything. But this didn't turn out the way I thought. The hot glue didn't stick at all. So I ended up having to remove the hot glue from the backing and then just use my weld bond glue. I put a paint can on the inside of it just to hold it in place until it had a good chance to stick well, which was about a half an hour. Once that was good and dry, I'm now going to use my weld bond glue and make sure that I get a good amount on there, glue it upside down onto the bottom of the cake pan, and this will become my riser stand or the pedestal for this cake pan. Now, again, you see me using hot glue, but I actually didn't do the hot glue for this either. I did try it and everything fell apart, as you can see here. So I had to just redo it just using weld bond glue. Look at how this turned out. I think it's absolutely gorgeous just the way it is. I'm not going to touch it with paint at all, but I am going to put on a couple of tissue paper printables to give it a little bit of a label and more of a vintage look. So I'm using my Mod Podge and I'm going to go ahead and put the tissue paper on top and do my whole thing. You're going to start from the inside and work your way out. Now, I don't want to have to take you through this every time, so I have created a tutorial on my Sandra's TechSpot channel. I'll link that down in the description box, and I'll also leave that on my end screen at the end of the video. For this piece, I took a baby wipe and made sure that I cleaned up any of the excess Mod Podge on the exterior because it does change the color and the shine of this piece. So just make sure you've always got a baby wipe on hand. They're so handy to have. I love how this turned out and I think it looks absolutely beautiful. I hope you like how it turned out too. Today's video is part of a collaboration that is hosted by my sweet friend Liana from Liana DIY. She gets a bunch of us together a couple times a month and then she finds us a guest host. Our host for this collaboration is Linda from Faith Chick 777's DIY by Design. Linda is an amazing crafter. If you have not seen her videos, you need to see them. She does paper crafting, Dollar Tree crafts, inspirational decor, farmhouse style, just gorgeous, beautiful decor that she puts together. Please make sure you go down to my description box, click on her channel link, and hit that red subscribe button. Make sure you check out the playlist link too. The second project I have for you today is this mailbox that I have redone about 5 times. I did a bunch of prepping wood pieces in my garage this past weekend. So what I do is take off all the hardware and then I give it one coat of Rust-Oleum paint and primer in one in flat black. And I always use that little trigger handle that I have. You can see it here. I love this thing. It makes everything go so much easier and you don't hurt your hand when you're working. After the black has dried, I always put on a clear coat. That just helps to seal that black in and you don't get any bleeding when you go to use your white paint on it. It also helps to block any stains. I used a mini sponge roller to do the first coat of white paint, and the second coat I'm going to be using my chalk paint brush, and this will give me a nice smooth finish. The paint I'm using for this is just a flat white paint that you can buy right off the shelf at any hardware store. Here's the mailbox. It's all dry. I painted the inside of it black and it's cured and ready for the next step. Next, I'm going to take 220 grit sandpaper and a very light touch and just sand it all so it's nice and smooth. Then I'm going to take a rag, dust it all off, and it'll be ready for the decals that I've created using my Cricut Joy. As usual, I'll have this available on my website in the free printables area. There's a link down in my description box for it. I'm just measuring to make sure I've got it centered and then I'm going to be able to press it down and I've got a beautiful decal on the top of my mailbox. The bottom part of the mailbox was just too plain, so I designed this compass and I'm going to put that on. Now I'm going to use the same 220 grit sandpaper, but with more of a firm touch and pull off the paint that's on all of the edges just to reveal the black underneath. Finally, I'll give it another coat of matte clear spray paint just to make sure that everything is sealed in, as this will probably be an outdoor item. For this last project, I'm going to show you how to make lemons. So I have a bunch of the big lemons that you get from Dollarama here in Canada, and they're probably the size of a baseball. They're pretty big. And I've never been able to find any smaller ones and not any that are wedges or slices or half. So I decided, since I have a bunch of these styrofoam balls, they're my favorite things to work with, especially for florals, that I would attempt to make some lemons with this. So what I'm doing is I've cut one of the styrofoam balls into four, so I've got a nice little wedge. Then I'm taking a wide piece of masking tape and I'm just going to be taping it across the bumpy edge. So if you wanted, you could leave that bumpy. I just thought lemons don't usually have that kind of texture. So I thought putting the masking tape on would help me get the right kind of texture. I've got some yellow paint mixed with baking soda, and I'm going to go ahead and give this a really nice thick coat. I'm using a bamboo skewer just to make sure that I have a handle on it, and you can see how pretty this color is. It was just regular apple barrel yellow paint. I did add a little bit of white and then the baking soda just to give it more of a dimpled or rough texture. I also wanted to make a couple of half lemons. So I like to use a bread knife when I'm cutting these styrofoam balls apart because it's a nice long blade, it's really sharp, and I get a really nice clean cut. I'll be putting two pieces of masking tape on this one, and then I'm going to take some small scissors and just trim the tape all around the edge. So here's the trash part of this DIY. This is a wreath that I made a couple of years ago. I had some eggs on it, which I've already removed and used on a different project. Now I'm just going to pull off all of these stems and these little white blossoms that are very pretty. I think they're apple or peach blossoms, but they actually look very similar to a lemon blossom. I'm also going to be removing that chicken wire because my look for this wreath didn't really look like it needed chicken wire. So I'm going to just remove everything and then have the base wreath ready to go. I love these wreaths that you can get at the Dollar Tree. They're so nice and sturdy, and for $1, you can't beat it. But the color's not so great. I'm going to use my Rust-Oleum chalk paint in cocoa bean and a rough brush and just get into as many nooks and crannies as I can, but it's going to have more of a dry brushed look, and that's okay. These large stems come from Dollarama. They're $1.25 and they're called ficus branches, and they're very similar to what a lemon leaf looks like. So I thought these would be perfect to start sticking inside of the wreath. I'm going to be going in one direction all the way around, and I'm just going to bend them as I see fit and fill it in as much as I want. If you're new to my channel, maybe coming over from one of the other ladies' videos, I'd like to say welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. If you like what you see, I'd love for you to stick around and hit that subscribe button. As well, hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And that thumbs up button really helps my channel grow. So I'd really appreciate your support. I'm going to use a white chalk marker to add some details to the lemons. When you're using markers like this that have liquid paint or chalk on the inside of them, it's always best to just use a really light touch because that allows the paint to flow out nicely. For the half lemon, I wanted it to look like a lemon again. So if you're not sure how that looks, you can go ahead and look something up on the internet. I just decided to do a circle all the way around and then sort of draw some flower petals because that's sort of what the inside of a lemon looks like. And I think it turned out pretty cute. I'm going to keep the bamboo skewers on the lemons because it's going to make it so much easier for me to insert it into the wreath form. So I'm just going to place these in such a way that is pleasing and how I like it. And then I'll just use some hot glue to make sure they're secure. I decided to reuse those little white blossom flowers. They really did look like little lemon blossoms. So I'm just going to tuck them in between the leaves and the lemons, just using some hot glue. I loved how this wreath was turning out, but I thought I would use some of these little pip berries to add little accents around the greenery of the wreath. So I'm going to just use some hot glue. I'll probably cut the majority of them in half and then just place them all the way around the wreath just to give it a little bit of an extra pop. I added a couple of shoestring bows with some buffalo check ribbon, and here's the finished look. I hope you enjoyed my trash to treasure projects today and got some inspiration to create some treasures of your own. If you like what you saw, I'd love for you to stick around. Hit that subscribe button. That black arrow will show you exactly where to click. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate all of your support. My viewers, my subscribers, I love you guys. Thanks a bunch.